Yeah, it makes me a bit emotional thinking about it because
Shulin Lee is a former lawyer turned founder of top legal recruiting firm Asland Legal.
Having such a big following on LinkedIn and along the journey, it must have made you famous.
there was once I was at Takashimaya, I was yelling at my son. And then my mom was like, hey, Shulin, you've forgotten who you are now. Cannot anyhow yell at your son in public. Later someone...
There are a lot of people who are not happy with being a paid employee. They think about starting their own business.
If your motivations are, I just want to get away from my toxic boss, right? That's not a good enough reason.
And I spoke to a recruiter.
Yes.
She looked at my resume and she said, you can't get a job anywhere else.
Most recruiters, they just are interested in the low-lying fruit.
Shulin, what is your superpower in one sentence?
I can strike a conversation with anyone. That's my superpower.
Okay. How has that helped you?
Well, it's helped me build relationships, whether it's with the pantry lady when I was a very young lawyer or with a high-flying client who is in crisis mode. So because I genuinely am always very curious as to what is the person concerned about, what's the person proud of, and how I can help them, I realized that has been, if I can say this, the secret sauce to my success.
Your LinkedIn, over the last year, you went from 20,000 followers to 200,000 followers.
250,000 now, yes.
Well done. And at this time of the podcast, it'd probably be even higher. That entails a lot of putting yourself out there.
Yep.
What else do you think it needed?
Well, it needed a lot of thick skin, which I have developed over time, and I always still need to develop thicker and thicker skin. Putting yourself out there hasn't come as easy to me as what I think people think it does. Maybe to you or to people who know me, they know that, I struggle too. I struggle too with my own inner critic. Like, I'm worried about how people perceive me. And I believe a lot of it comes down to not wanting to look bad, not wanting to embarrass yourself, and not wanting to be wrong, right? Because even every time I post a LinkedIn post, I still say a little prayer. Because I'm very worried. I'm like, what if this post backfires? What if I get cancelled? What if I get misunderstood? So it entails a lot of guts, thicker skin, and also the willingness to be wrong. I posted my views on how the law students who cheated in their bar exams, they were treated too harshly, right? And I believe that everyone deserves a second chance. Then, wow, the LinkedIn police came for me. They were like, you mean you condone cheating? I was flabbergasted. And the first instance you get when your post goes viral is like, oh, I should delete my post? Which is so bizarre because actually everyone wants to get that kind of exposure, right? But it was not the kind of exposure I was expecting. And then the second thing is, I need to defend myself, right? Because you immediately feel the fight or flight. You're like, no, whatever you're saying is wrong. I'm right, you're wrong, right? But then when you take a step back, and this really helps me now, and I realize that they have a viewpoint, I have a viewpoint. And the reason why I wrote the post is because it's reflective of my values, it's aligned with my mission, and then I'm okay. I can sleep at night. And I don't have to go and overcompensate and put everyone in their place, So yeah, putting myself out there has brought a lot of benefits. It's also brought some heartache, stress, anxiety. But overall, it's been beneficial.
A lot of times we imagine the worst, and that's why we hold ourselves back. But I think once you push yourself through that, the benefits are actually quite fulfilling.
Yes.
And it's something I've learned in media that good publicity is great. Bad publicity is also good if you know how to handle it. No publicity is the worst. That means
Crickets.
No one cares about you.
Yes.
And maybe 20, 30 years ago, it's fine to be anonymous. Just let your work speak for itself. But now, you gotta stand for something. You need that visibility. You need people to notice you. And if they disagree with your views, that's fine. But I disagree with people who do controversial things just to get the
Oh,
attention.
absolutely. And there are many people who do that. I think we call them shock jocks, right? And particularly one of my biggest pet peeves is when people post about, let's say, supporting women, but then in real life, they don't. So whatever that they are posting is sort of like a persona or role that they are playing, but in reality, it doesn't tally. And to me, that actually destroys your credibility, your personal brand. It's better that they don't post rather than posting something just for the sake of it.
Having such a big following on LinkedIn and along the journey, it must have made you famous to some people. How do you handle that?
Yes, some people call me a pseudo celebrity, which is hilarious. And we, when I say we, my husband and I, we sometimes get stopped in the streets, and it was very uncomfortable for us at first. I didn't realize in posting I was putting my kids and my husband in the public eye, right? Again, I didn't realize I would be a public figure. I'm very uncomfortable with the word influencer because to me, I'm a business person, serious business person who is creating valuable content for my target audience, right? So yes, fame was and remains uncomfortable. However, I also learned from you and other people that if I stay in my comfort zone, there's no growth, right? So I don't take that fame too seriously. I'm not Zoe Tay. I'm not Cameron Diaz. So this lady came up to me and said, hey, you're Shulin and blah, blah, blah. So I took it as an opportunity to get more data, more information. And actually, I even asked her, what is like your biggest challenge now? You know, because she was saying that she was inspired by how I quit my job, started my own company. Then I realized, oh, this is a lady who wants to start her own company. And then I gave her some advice on the spot. There was once I was at Takashimaya, I was yelling at my son. And then my mom was like, hey, Shulin, you've forgotten who you are now. Cannot anyhow yell at your son in public. Later someone stomp you, you know? So I was like, okay, true, it's true. But hey, hello, I'm not without flaws. You know, I'm not this perfect person. It is uncomfortable. I'm still like learning how to navigate it. But yeah, I don't take it too seriously because today I could be famous, tomorrow I might not be. I'm going to utilize the platform that I have to make the most out of it, like to do more good, to help other people, and obviously to help my business.
I became famous when I was very young. I was a teenager, no idea what it was about. And I felt very uncomfortable with it because you had people coming up to me, oh, you're Georgina Chang, the 987
Yeah.
DJ. And it's like, that was why they came up to me for that, the famous part. And I became very guarded because all kinds of people want to be associated and get to know you. And not all of them have good intentions. And at that young age, I just kind of closed myself up. Just was very careful who I spoke to. Fame is actually a very powerful tool if you know how to use it right. But it can also be very destructive if you don't know how to use it right. And the difference is, a lot of people want to know, you use it right when you want to amplify a cause, a mission, a product, a service. And that's great to let people know that this is available to help them, to make their lives better. But when you use it to elevate yourself above others, that's when it gets dangerous because once you're famous, you're open target. People can love you, people can hate you. People are free to say whatever they want about you. Of course they are, because when they see you out on the street, see you at a restaurant, you don't know these people know you, but they all know you and they're watching how you eat, how you talk, how you interact.
Oh dear.
And of course they'll go back to their own friends and say, hey, I saw so and you know, they were talking so loud, laughing so loud. But when those comments come back and you let it tear yourself down, that's when it's destructive.
I see.
Because you're using that as a tool to lift you up and validate you versus for what you want to do. Because if it's for something you want to do, it doesn't matter what people say because these people don't really know me and I'm focused on what I want to do. But you talked about your husband being stopped, and sometimes obviously, you know, your children get featured sometimes. Do you feel that this is something you need to protect them from?
For I think the last 2 years, I've really stopped featuring my older son's face. And for the younger one, he just turned 6 this year. Because he's going to primary school next year, I've stopped putting his face in any of my Instagram or my LinkedIn. For my husband, well, we had a rather in-depth discussion about featuring him, every time I feature his face, the posts do very well. Much better than my usual posts. I think people are naturally curious or kepo about, who would be the guy who married this woman. So my husband was once stopped in a very ulu industrial park. Someone knocked on his car window and said, hey, are you Shulin's husband? So he was like, oh gosh, even in an industrial park, I can't be left alone. He was quite upset, the first few times it happened, because he is an introvert by nature. He didn't ask for this. But now that he sees the benefits, okay, because there are benefits to the acknowledgement and the recognition, he said, yes, it's okay. Put it out there. I always get his approval every time I post about him. So end of last year, I posted about how he and I started marriage counseling and why. And the reason why he allowed me to post about that is because we see so many married couples go through a lot of issues and not wanting to ask for help. So yeah, my husband has been very, very supportive, amazing guy. And now he realizes there are perks to this fame thing.
How else has he been there for you?
So 1 year into me starting my business, my husband decided that he will quit his broker job to A, be the more hands-on parent, and B, help me with the numbers because I'm hopeless with numbers. He's an accountant by training. And this supposed temporary arrangement has become our permanent arrangement. So it's now my business has been established for 9 years, legal recruitment business. And yeah, so it's been 8 years for him to be the more hands-on parent, to help with a lot of things with the business, as well as he started his own investment business. He took a step back for his own career so that I can build mine. And I will say this, at that time, I was not appreciative of that because I thought, wow, from dual income, we are going to single income. And I actually resented the fact that I had to be the sole breadwinner. However, now, you fast forward 8 years, my 2 sons are amazing. People praise them. They're like, wow, they're so confident. They're able to strike conversation with anyone. And I credit that so much to my husband. So because my husband was able to be that hands-on parent, I had less mom guilt. They are in the best care, which is my husband.
If he didn't take the step back, do you think you'd be as successful as you are?
I think quite unlikely. Or it could have been at the expense of our kids' well-being. And if both of us were consumed by our careers and just running the rat race, right, I really think it would come at not just the expense of our kids. I don't even know whether we would still be married, because I see too many marriages fall apart because there's a lack of connection. Not because there's no more love. There's still love, but there's no more connection. The values are no longer aligned.
Who's your best friend?
My best friend is definitely my husband. He's just this guy who wants the best for me and will always be happy for me. Yeah, it makes me a bit emotional thinking about it because he's just this selfless person. I wish I could be as selfless as him. So I would say that comparing, I'm more selfish than him. He puts family first. He always thinks of me first, and then he plans his schedule around everyone. And sometimes it's at the expense of his own health. He's also my best friend because he understands me better than anyone else. Other people see this fierce, ambitious, driven woman. He knows that I am a bundle of insecurities. I have so many struggles, and I genuinely always am trying my best to help other people. He sees that. Yeah. My son is gonna have a field day with this. Hilarious. But anyway, yeah. I'm very lucky to have met my husband. We've been together 21 years. And I told my husband that when I was 18, I think, or 19, I had this dream. I dreamt that at that time I was dating a string of very disgusting jerks who did not treasure or appreciate me at all. But at that time, yeah, there was this dream, and I was walking along the beach with this man, and I was holding hands with him. I could not see his face because the sun was shining so brightly. But I had this peace, like, wow, this guy loves me so much and really has my back. And I felt so happy. It was indescribable. And I only told him about this dream like last year. And when I told my best friend, my husband, this dream, he was so pleased. He looked so happy. I was like, wow, I wish I told you about this dream.
Can you imagine what your life would be like if that guy on the beach you were holding hands with never came into your life?
I can't imagine my life without him. I can't. I think if he didn't come into my life, I would be an even bigger bitch than I am. He grounds me. He makes me remember that I'm not that great. He humbles me. He makes me realize that there's goodness in life. He's not one of those overachieving people whom I'm constantly surrounded by. Like, money's important, no doubt, but it's not everything. And the most important qualifying criteria that I had when I was looking for a husband, a boyfriend, was that the person needed to be really good to his parents. So, and that's something he continues to do. He takes really good care of his parents, my parents too. And then there's one more qualifying criteria. He needs to be more into me than I'm into him. Because I think for women, we can develop our feelings. Whereas for men, it's very clear cut. They either are into you or they're not so into you. Right? So he was super, super into me. And I was like, okay, great. Let me see whether I can cultivate my feelings. And I did. Like, I really, really fell for him. And yeah, it's amazing. We renewed our vows a few years ago, our 10th wedding anniversary. And I think that did something for it cemented our relationship.
I think that was a very powerful masterclass in relationships and what to look for in your life partner.
I credit that to all the, I would say, useless guys I dated in the past. Useless meaning useful, actually, because they taught me what I didn't want. A lot of people out there are very misguided. They don't actually know what they're looking for. By trial and error, I was able to establish, okay, sorry, no, and no, and no, and no. But you need to put yourself out there first. Otherwise, you won't know what's wrong for you.
Actually, I just really enjoy my own company so much.
Yeah.
I don't want to adjust it to accommodate someone else. Just like someone else will have to adjust for me. And I think it's a little bit harder when you've either matured a lot more
Yes.
or you're used to living on your own.
There are very few men who would be worthy, I would say. I'm not trying to make you feel good, but there are very few men who are worthy. And those men who are single right now, like in, around our vintage, we have to be very careful. What kind of issues do they have? What kind of baggage do they have? Have they healed? Because I realize now, and I'm the mother of 2 boys, I do not want to raise man-child because there are many men who are still children.
So when I decided to start my own business, a lot of people said to me, wow, you're so brave. And I was like, what, who, me? I couldn't understand it. I just thought something that you do. But I know now that a lot of people who are not happy with being a paid employee or feeling some concerns about their jobs and their roles, they're thinking about starting their own business.
Yep.
So you did it.
Yes.
What are the things that they should watch out for that you came across and you would like to advise someone on it?
Okay, sure. First, don't do it in an emotional state. Just because you're unhappy with your boss or you feel stuck, which is everything. Right? Everyone feels stuck at some point. And also ask yourself whether the business you're going to set up requires more than just you. Because I very quickly realized that my dream of being a solopreneur was not going to work because there's no way I could service my clients with just me, myself, and I. I could, but it would be a lousy product. So I had to expand, right? And then when I expanded, I realized, oh wow, there's so many hidden overheads. There's X amount you have to set aside for corporate tax. You have your database, which you have to pay a licensing fee for. So there's the hidden costs. There's the hidden opportunity costs because you no longer have a steady income. Are you able to deal with the anxiety that comes with that? Not many people can. And I think lastly, your motivations. Because if your motivations are, I just want to get away from my toxic boss, right? That's not a good enough reason. Find another company. Starting a business it also means that you have no medical leave. You're sick, you have to, tahan. If you're on holiday, you are also taking calls. And okay, maybe someone listening to me is, oh yeah, even as an employee, I have to work through medical leave, I have no leave. Okay, if that really is the case, maybe in the wrong company, but doesn't mean that you should start a business. Because I find that there are too many irresponsible thought leaders who are posting day in, day out on Instagram and LinkedIn, quit your job, start a business. But it's not for everyone.
I see a lot of people wanting to start their own business now, and most don't have a business plan. So I think that's really a very dangerous way to start because you end up being very frustrated. You lose a lot of money. And, that feeling is not good because these are not people who are just starting out in their careers. These are people who have done really good things for the last 20, 30 years. And then to end up in a space where you feel less about yourself, that's not a good place to be in.
It's not. And you can't perform at your best when you're so anxious about making ends meet.
Even now, even with the wins and the triumphs that we get, it's still stressful.
Yes.
It's like non-stop.
Absolutely.
I had an entrepreneur friend who said, okay, one day when things settle down for you, let's catch up. And then she said, okay, wait, no, it'll never settle down. Maybe when you have a bit more space in your time. I'm like, that's right, that's more accurate. What keeps you going? Why do you do what you do?
I asked myself that too because I've been doing it for 15 years. So I was a lawyer for 4 years. And then for the last 15 years, I've been doing legal recruitment. And a lot of people don't know this. They don't realize that before I started my business for 9 years, I was in a New York headquartered recruitment company first. And then I was for 4 years with a UK headquartered recruitment company. What keeps me going is the lessons that I learned, right? I'm not here to speak negatively about my former bosses. They gave me a chance. They showed me what was good and what was not so good. So I learned a lot from the not so good, and the good I want, right? I want to keep that. So I do a different brand, different way of recruitment where we are really not interested to spray and pray, where you just take all the CVs and then you just throw them, see, like, what do they call it? See which spaghetti sticks. And you pray, right, that one of them hits. So that's a terrible way of doing recruitment. And that's why a lot of recruiters get a bad rep. In starting my own business, what keeps me going is really the lives we see transformed. We see people literally, they have lost all hope. Other recruiters tell them, no, I can't get you a job. And okay, I'm not saying we can work miracles, but we dig deep. We're like, oh, you're forgetting that. I'm not kidding you. There's this lady, she had first class honours. I'm like, you've forgotten that you got first class honours in this top university. You're forgetting that you've done this and that. She's like, but other recruiters told me I can't find a job here. I was flabbergasted. Anyway, we found her a job very easily. And I realize now that most recruiters, they just are interested in the low-lying fruit. So what keeps me going is seeing the fruits of our labour. It is sometimes a very, very thankless job because, we get rejections all the time. People don't value us. But there's so many clients now who do value us. And that's what keeps me going.
I remember when I was deeply unhappy in the corporate world and I spoke to a recruiter.
Yes.
She looked at my resume and she said, oh, you've been in this same, industry for so long. You can't get a job anywhere else. You have to get a friend to hire you. And that was it, full stop. And I was like, oh. And I looked at my resume. Yes, sure, I've been in the media industry. But I've been in different portfolios and I managed different types of people throughout my career. And for her to just say, yeah, you can't get a job. You need a friend to hire you. That was it wasn't just discouraging. It really felt like someone saying, actually, you're nothing. You're worth nothing. Recruiters like you actually dig deeper and look at what are the key elements that other companies will find valuable. I think that's it.
Yes.
To find a person's value despite what everyone else is.
Yes, to see someone's value, someone's potential, what they can offer beyond just the CV. And that recruiter sounded to me like she might not have the necessary network of clients that she can match you with. So it was easier for her to say, you can't find a job, rather than her saying, I don't have the clients.
That is very reassuring and validating for me many years later when I thought I was like, oh my God, I'm nothing. I know you invest a lot in yourself. I've seen you do it in your coaching and in all the people you go to for guidance. And the thing is, here I know many people do not. They balk at it when they realize they have to pay out their own pocket a few $1,000s for something that would make their lives better, because maybe they're used to the company paying for them, or they just feel, oh, why would I want to spend money on that? I spend a lot of money on my own development. We're talking about close to $50,000 a year, easily. And I see the rewards of that because I can see how I've changed my mindset, my perspectives, become stronger, more resilient. And there's always more to learn every year.
Absolutely.
So for you, you spend a lot on that too.
Yes, I spend a lot. In fact, I don't know anyone else who spends as much as me. Maybe you. Yeah. Like I've spent easily in the six figures. And I don't just spend on myself, I spend on my team. And every business has a different way of, a different stage of growth, right? And maybe when money is tighter, you wouldn't want to invest so much in your team. But to me, it makes sense because why would your team stay with you if you're not investing in them? That's number one. And number two, if I'm not becoming a better version of myself and showing up as a boss, as a leader, as a manager, mentor, as my client's confidant, as my consultant, then why would other people invest in me? So first, I need to invest in myself. And the return on investment, ROI, is exponential, right? It's not just about monetary terms. I think people are too fixated about parting with their money. They don't realize that the learning, the growing is something that you can take with you for years. And it might not even just be for your business. Like some of the best courses I've done have been beneficial in other aspects of my life. Relationships, my podcast, for instance, I got coaching from you for that. And I believe in going to subject matter experts for their advice. Like I've seen a nutritionist. I hired a sleep trainer to train my kids to sleep. I believe in that. I have a personal trainer, Pilates instructor, for my podcast. I have an accountability coach. You name it, okay? In fact, someone told me quite hilariously, Shulin, I think you're overcoached. Is that such a thing? That's my thing. Because I just want to be the best version of myself.
I find that when you go to someone who's a true expert in it, not just one of those a few steps ahead type of people, but someone who's a true expert, exactly, you learn from the mistakes, it accelerates you. And we can't be experts in every area of our life. There's so many things we don't know and we still don't know. We need someone to show us they like to use the word playbook or the guidebook, but show us how to do it better, faster, and with less stress, because that's life, right? You want to take that stress out. What else are you spending your money on? Material things? Sure, they make you happy for that brief moment when you first get it. But for your lifelong, it's learning these things that make you more capable and powerful inside.
I mean, I still love my handbags. When you invest in yourself and you pay for that learning, that coaching, and you take not just the money, because actually people are very worried about taking time away from their family, their careers. You're actually being stingy with yourself, right? If you are generous with yourself, right? If I'm generous with my own resources, I pour back into myself, then the universe, God, can have a channel to be generous with you. Because if you're stingy and you're just like, I'm going to hang on to this money, I don't want to go for this, hang on to my time, you're already thinking from a very scarcity mindset. You think that's not enough.
What does success mean to you?
So success has meant different things to me at different times. When I was younger, I just wanted to be the best. I went to the best schools, right? I went to the best law firm. Then after that, when I was a recruiter, to be the best recruiter, top biller. And seriously, I got everything. Because when I set my mind to it, I will go for it. I'm like, just obsessed. Like I wanted to grow my LinkedIn, I will grow. So, I'm very single-minded. Today, success means I'm healthy, mentally, physically, and I have strong, deep relationships with the people who matter to me, rather than having many, many superficial relationships with many different people. And success now means to me that my team is successful too. So if they're not successful, it's a reflection that I'm not successful. I've not done my job. Because I will admit, when I was this top biller recruiter, a complete diva, I'll tell my boss, I need the corner desk, and I'm like, I need special treatment. So I was very me. In this era, in the last 9 years, when I have to build my business, it's no longer about me. In fact, it was difficult to shed that because I was so ingrained, like top performer, top biller. But what it means to be a leader is to make sure my team are top billers, to make sure my team, they have my support and I can guide them.
What was that single moment or event that gave you the most success today?
Okay, so when I started my business, I completely self-sabotaged myself. Now I can see that. Because I thought that as a Singaporean with a Singaporean accent, Chinese, female, I was not as good as the Caucasian recruiter, the white guy basically, or the white girl. And I couldn't fight with the big boys, right? So the pivotal moment that shifted this mindset for me forever was when I was pitching for this piece of work from a big client, UK client, and I was pitching against this like blonde bombshell, right? She's tall, blonde, blue eyes. Wow, she looked the part, stiletto heels, Prada bag. And back then, I tell you, I was really not very stylish. I was just dressed, and I just gave birth, I remember. So I was like, fat and dumpy. And I still rocked up to the pitch. Then I told myself, I don't think I can get this. Okay, never mind, just pitch anyway. But the pivotal moment was I got the job. And I realize now that, oh wow, they may be in London, these clients, but they see my value. I didn't see my own value, right? I thought that because she looked the part, I don't look the part, I don't have a posh British accent, I'm going to lose out. So that mindset was something I had to change. And it was over time. It wasn't just like once. And once I got more evidence that, hey, I am good. I mean, I am. But I think I didn't allow that to shine through. Because you can be really, really good, but if you don't tell people or you don't show up, then people also doubt that you're good. And I got feedback from that client who has retired since that, Shulin, you have what it takes, but you don't look like you have what it takes. So you got to change your dressing. So yes, I had to invest in my clothes too. My makeup and everything, hair.
What a great story, because that let you achieve that success, yet get a learning lesson from that too. And I'm not going to say it's an Asian thing, because it's not just Asians. It's not a culture. It's not a nationality. Sure. It's a people thing. There are people who just, don't acknowledge their own value. In fact, they're waiting for someone else to tell them what their value is. And I would say me too. I kind of know I'm good at some things, but I don't see enough of what my strengths are to really go all out there, put myself out there and be bigger. And I think that's going to be a little bit of like a lifelong challenge, because the more you put yourself out there, the more you need to put yourself out there more.
Yes.
And you just keep growing if you dare to. I think it's just a shame that too many people don't feel they have that value that they want to talk about or share. And when I used to manage different types of people, they were either people in the office or celebrities or personalities. I can see it through. It's a people thing. There are so many of them. Celebrities, you think, wow, they're so famous, but they don't fully see their value.
Yes.
And when I point out something to them and I say, hey, this is something you can do, this is something you look at, because I can spot value very easily in someone else. You can see how they flower and blossom and their eyes light up and they see that future self. And it's amazing to see that transformation. I just wish I could do it more for myself. It's hard.
Yeah,
right?
It's hard because, and this is what I learned recently, that when we are in the jar, we can't see the label that's on the jar. Maybe it says very valuable, right? But we don't see it. And that's why I learned to screen capture any WhatsApp or any testimonials people give to me, and then I put it in this folder, like feel good folder. So when I feel down, I look at that message like, oh Shulin, you were instrumental and blah blah blah. Oh Shulin, you're so good. Huh? Oh yes, I am good. Because we will forget that.
What is your biggest fear now?
My biggest fear is that my business will not survive. My biggest fear is that my business might be redundant in 5 years' time because the jobs of lawyers are being disrupted right now. So I'm looking at different ways of generating revenue. I'm looking at different ways of even doing recruitment right now. Although I will say that there's still a huge need for the work that we do, law firm partners, lawyers in banks and all that. It's just that it might take a different shape and form. So we are actually in the midst of formulating something else, like a different iteration of our business.
What is presence to you?
When someone comes into a room and I immediately want to speak to the person, or I believe this person needs my attention, right? So there's a certain level of gravitas and almost like a magnetic pull. I've learned early on, like 9 years ago when I started the business, that my image needed work because there was this bank, this client who called me a 小妹妹, small girl. And I remember my friend working in that bank had to jump to my defense and said, no, she's a grown woman. She actually just had a child herself. But perception is everything. There's no point in saying all that because her perception, she already made up her mind. No, Shulin doesn't have that presence. She doesn't have that gravitas. We can't trust her with this.
It's very important for people to understand what they're projecting when they go out into the world, especially professionally, because I think a lot of people don't realize that presence they're projecting is not useful or beneficial to them. And that's where you get either coaching or mentoring or someone to see it for you, because quite often you can't see it for yourself. When you walk in, what is your facial expression? If you're still thinking about that bloody meeting you had just now with that idiot client and it shows, people at this next meeting have no idea and they just see someone who looks sour, angry, and they're like, whoa, who's this nasty person? Like on the weekends, I'll just walk down the street. I like to look at people walking, past me, and I look at their facial expressions. And so often people are not aware, even when you're walking, your facial expression says something about you. And once I was across the road and I saw this lady wearing something really attractive and kind of sexy. I was like, ooh, who is that? And I like looking at, attractively put together people. So as she came closer to me, I started looking at her.
Yeah.
But her face was puckered with sourness and bitterness. And I was like, wow, that was very unpleasant. And I wish she knew that her facial expression, she was holding that. Because the longer you hold a sour face, a bitter face, it becomes your face.
Oh dear.
So don't, always be mindful, walk with a slight smile.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah.
Because my RBF, I've been told, is quite strong. So I need to be very mindful of that.
Yes, I have a strong one as well. And I
Yes.
always knew that. And I thought it was a good thing before when I was a boss. I'll walk in with that face.
Yes.
Everyone's scared and they, and
Yeah.
I'm like, good, I don't have to tell people what to do. They just get to it. But obviously that was decades ago.
Yes.
Now that's not the way to lead. My team used to say, boss, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. Why? Oh, you look angry. I was like, no, actually I was thinking of what to have for lunch today. How do you prepare to show up as a leader?
I'm so used to speaking a very direct way, right? And I like to speak my mind. I believe that everyone should know what is really happening. I don't want to sugarcoat things. But to show up as a leader, it also means I need to be mindful of how my words land on the other person. Because the other person, language is imprecise. So I could be saying one thing, but they could interpret it in a really negative way. So what I do now as a leader, whether it's to show up for my team meetings or to go to a client meeting with another person, is I don't make any assumptions, right? And I realize this though, sometimes I try and over-explain, over-communicate. Maybe I'm overcompensating. But I would rather make sure that my point is made very clearly across than to leave my team guessing like, oh my gosh, what was she trying to say? So as a leader, my job is to make sure that we are aligned. And when there is misalignment, as there will be, we talk about it. We have the uncomfortable conversations up front.
So I coach you on a few things,
Yes.
like with the podcast.
Yes.
What were the top 3 takeaways that you got?
I think the biggest takeaway was because of your media background, you were able to tell me in a very kind way, Shulin, whatever you prepared, why should your audience care? Why should they care? No. Start with this instead. So that was super helpful because it's now given me this insight that, what I think works or what I think should be there, is it actually serving the audience? And I think the second biggest takeaway was the mindset. I think people misconstrue you as like a speaking or public speaking coach. I think you go way more, like you go very deep into the why. I think what was really helpful was that you reminded me of why I do what I do. And that's why there was once you encouraged me. You asked this question like, Shulin, I think I told you, I feel like stopping posting on LinkedIn. And then you're like, Shulin, a year from now, you have not posted anything on LinkedIn. Do you think you'll be happy with yourself? I was like, no. It was like a clear no. And that was really helpful. So you remind me of my why. So the third thing that you've helped me so much, which I never thought I would need, is to navigate this public figure status that I now have to grapple with, because you were in the limelight. You still are in the limelight. And you had to manage all these A-list artists like Zoe Tay, Joanne Pei. That was really helpful because I had no idea that this would be so uncomfortable. I think people who are not yet in the public eye, they think, it'll be so great, right? It'll be amazing. Until you get there and then you're like, it feels very uncomfortable. It's so weird because if I Google my name now, it says internet personality. Google, why? Why did you do this to me? So weird. So I'm very grateful to you because you helped me realize that, a lot of these feelings, it will pass. And because you remind me of my why, I'm able to navigate it a lot more effectively.
In your industry, you want to be famous. So you want to be a micro celebrity in your industry so that people know who you are, what you can do, then doors open. But with that comes added pressure. More eyes are looking at you. So with the CEOs that I work with, let's say they weren't CEOs before and maybe they were COOs or they were in another position and they become the CEO. The CEO is suddenly very famous in the company. Everyone knows who they are. And this person's like, wow, I didn't realize. I just get up and I walk to the toilet. Everyone's observing me, observing my facial expressions. I'm like, yes, you will be observed because everyone knows you. So I always tell people, this thing about visibility, public speaking, it actually starts from the inside. Sure, you want to know how to use your voice better, your tone. These are tactics and it's great. It changes a little bit in how people perceive you, right? You increase your authority, your gravitas, create that sense of trust. But more importantly, you got to start with insight. So you mentioned it's the mindset. Why are you doing this? Who are you about? So I do a lot of self-awareness because when you put yourself out there and you're famous, you got to be very aware and very grounded in who you are. Then you can handle all this attention, wanted and unwanted, with a lot more grace.
Do you realize that a lot of times it's the people who, like me, I was not seeking to be famous. And then suddenly I'm famous. And that's why it feels even more uncomfortable. Versus the people who have already set that side, I want to be famous. Then to them, it's like, yep. Or do they also struggle?
I think everyone struggles if they don't know what it entails. When you become very well known, there are going to be some people who don't like you. They just don't like you.
Oh, absolutely.
Doesn't matter what you say, they just don't like
Absolutely.
you. And quite often, they don't like you because you have something that they want. And they think, why should you have it? I deserve to have it. And instead of thinking, what can I do to get it? How can I get it? Let me study this person and get it so that I can be even better. They kind of go, I hate this person. And all that jealousy and
Yes.
insecurity goes out on this person. I
Yes.
see it all the time. I've gotten it and I've seen others get it as
Yes,
well.
yes.
So that's the whole dynamic of fame. It
Yes.
does stir up the worst in people
Absolutely.
And they always say fame changes someone. It doesn't. It changes people around you.
Wow, I love that. Even Taylor Swift has her haters, right?
Oh, yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
I have my fair share of haters. Some of them I just block them on LinkedIn, don't care. And then others I just distance myself from them. But it used to get to me because there were people I really looked up to, and then they got very triggered because of my success. And then I felt like, I mean, what they say, oh, don't meet your heroes, is actually kind of true, because when you meet some of them, you're in for a disappointment.
And the thing about the haters, they could be your friends, your family, or strangers, right? And that's what I meant. There's no nationality, no culture. It is people.
Yep.
They're going to be haters who just, for some reason, it triggers something in them.
Yes.
And they take it on you instead of working on it. So it's like I said, fame is a very powerful tool both ways. What are you most excited by now?
I'm most excited by the new season of the podcast. I have a podcast, which you interviewed me on before, because we are, for the first time, we're embarking on uncharted territories. Like, for the first time, I now have people who want to sponsor my content. And remember I said I was worried about the future of my business? Now I realize there's another avenue of business which I've never looked at. So what I'm most excited about is now merging the two, creator and business person. Because I can be a serious, successful business person and create good content and get paid for it. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Can you advise someone who is interviewing for a very high stakes role? What are the top 3 things they must do to prepare or to do?
So my advice would depend on the context, and you've given me excellent context. High stakes interview, highly coveted position, senior. So the first thing that anyone should do when they're preparing for an interview like that is to make sure that you cover all your bases and see whether there's any common ground. I'll share a very quick story. There was once I was representing a lawyer, and the only reason why she got this job in a pharmaceutical company, even though she had zero pharmaceutical experience, she was actually from a bank, was because she played drums. So the interviewer played drums, she played drums, and they hit it off. They were talking about their common interest. So she won much more qualified candidates, and she got the job. So I tell people, go find out as much as you can about the interviewer. Not in a stalky, creepy way though, but to the extent that you can, or you can read up on the articles. So when you go in and you can establish any sort of mutual ground, whether it's a common friend, same school you went to, or better yet, same football club, you are in. Like you have already gotten an in. So that's number 1. Number 2, dressing. I don't care if you're a man or you're a woman. You may think you're very stylish, but sometimes you're dressed wrongly for a job interview. You dress too flashily, people will write you off. You wear your 3-carat diamond ring, they think you don't need the job. And this has really happened. And if you're a guy and you're wearing the wrong pocket square, maybe you shouldn't be wearing the pocket square, your hair, too much gel, not enough gel, I don't know, right? I don't really know men's fashion. If you have a male colleague or female colleague who you believe dresses better than you, ask them to eyeball your outfit. Show them pictures and say, is it okay if I dress this? And even, I'm a bit paranoid, I would even ask the people I work with to bring an extra jacket. Just in case you spill like your prawn noodle soup all over your outfit, you want to make sure you bring your A game, because your outfit is everything. And I also know this, a lot of women and men, they start trembling and shivering during the interview because the aircon in Singapore is crazy. Bring a blazer. And then the objection to me is always, oh, but it's too obvious I'm going for a job interview. Bring and pack the jacket. You can just sling it around your arm. Aircon is very cold. Third thing, a lot of people think going into a job interview means my answers must be super impressive. Yes, it's a given. Your answers need to have substance, okay? That's a basic. What you need to do is to one up and give very, very high quality questions. If you can look at the company's history for the last 10 years and say, oh, I see that there were management changes here, the business pivoted. Oh, can I ask what are the next 5 years going to be like? So you're not just asking what's the company culture, super basic question. Oh, what's your vision for the company? Another very basic question. But you're giving them the insight, basically like telling them quite in a subtle or not so subtle way that I've done my homework.
Those are excellent tips.
Yes. Yeah, they are excellent because I've coached many people on how to ace an interview. And some of these are high-flying law firm partners who do very badly in job interviews. Like they can be all flash in a courtroom situation or negotiating mergers and acquisitions. But when it comes to going for a job interview, they crumble because they don't like talking about how good they are. They're just very good at doing a good job. So I think for maybe more so for Asians, we've been taught to dim our light. We've been taught to not say how great we are. And the problem is they leave the interview room kicking themselves because they wish they had said this, they wish they had said that.
And I think a lot of people feel very uncomfortable about promoting themselves. But in this day and age now, it is critical. It's crucial. Don't think you're being arrogant and bragging. You're just letting people know what your strengths and values are. So it's easier for them to decide, how you can help them. Shulin, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I always enjoy catching up with you, talking to you since I met you a few years ago. Every coaching session is such a delight. Every lunch we have is so inspirational.
Thank you for coaching me. And thank you for seeing my potential.
Yes. And I love that, that energy you show up with every time. And I've told you this before, you're like the sun. Not sunshine, but the sun. You come in with so much dynamism and vibrancy. You talk loudly, you laugh loudly, you gesture in a big way. And because you're an open book, that trust is immediately established because you're not hiding anything. And I think that's why people gravitate towards you, because they feel that warmth from you and they feel that sincerity from you and that really authenticity as well. And I really appreciate you for being in my life.
Thank you, Georgina. I appreciate you being in my life. Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity.
So I want you to draw something now.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I'm gonna show you.
Draw. Wow. This is primary 2. I got first in class. Then primary 3, I didn't. So I felt like the world had crashed down on me. Then primary 6, I got top, like in my PSLE in my school, top 10. Then I went to law school where I felt very lousy about myself because everyone's so smart. Then I went to the law firm. That was great, but I lost myself. I just felt terrible. Then I went to be a recruiter. This was my meteoric rise.
Recruiter is a low point.
No, it was my ascent. And then I felt quite not challenged in the place that I was working in. And then I went to start my business. And then this was when it went up. And then there are a lot of ups and downs. So I think this early academic success, while it has brought me to where I am today, it made me equate results to my worth, which is not true. Because even if we don't get the desired outcome, it doesn't mean we're worthless, right? And I mean, it's as cliche as it sounds, there's really a lot of joy in the process. I'll always remember because when I closed like one of the biggest deals of my career, I was so happy. And I told myself, I'm going to be so happy when I close the deal. The happiness lasted all of one day. All of one day. The joy was really in the moments when it was so difficult. And when that was like a 3-year process.
There's so much pressure to constantly outperform all the time.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the discipline, the sacrifices, the challenges, the pressure you put on yourself to achieve all that. And yet you have. And here you are.
Yes, and here I am. And having to unlearn a lot of the unhelpful narratives that I gave myself. But yes, you're right. I was obsessed. And I think that's part of why people gravitate to me. I'm obsessed with how to be good in this or that. And that's why I seek out subject matter experts like yourself to make myself be better. Because I know now I do not have all the answers. And trying to, wing it or like DIY, I'm not interested to do that.
Amazing. That's why you're so inspiring.
Oh, thank you.